Assassination is a dark and messy business, but it is one that Corvo Attano is all too familiar with. Dishonored, a first-person game that blends both stealth and action, it's not unlike most of the stealth games that came before it, but it is one of the most unique stealth games that give you the option of choice. With target neutralization as the primary gameplay design, Dishonored gives you a wide variety of tools for which to carry out your assassination. Not only do you get to face a number of challenges and obstacles that stand between you and your target, you also get the freedom of dealing with them in a manner of your own choosing. Whether you prefer the silent approach or the more direct one, the options in which to go about either method are endless, with a number of different weapons and magical abilities at your disposal. The gameplay is not only the biggest highlight, as the city of Dunwall is also one of the most unique locations you'll get to see. A city infested with the plague and suffering the loss of their empress to an assassin, the bleak city of Dunwall is a living location whose population reacts to an ever-changing environment. From the City Watch who enforce their iron rule, the loyalist group who seek to restore their rightful heir to the throne, or the distraught and plague-ridden citizens, the city of Dunwall is a setting that is unique to Dishonored. The game was highly praised on all these fronts, and is often credited as one of the best examples of immersive simulation in gaming. Dunwall's environment is governed by how much bloodshed you're willing to spill, and the number of bodies that you pile on affect how the world reacts to you. A city that is struggling to survive could easily turn to a corpse of itself with the decisions that you make. Coupled with your choices of tools and abilities to carry out your assassination, Dishonored has all the hallmarks of what makes a choice-driven stealth game so much fun to play. But Dishonored is almost 12 years old now, and there's a number of different stealth games that have stood out since then, whether through their own subgenre entirely, or through the gameplay aspects that are unique to them. Dishonored 2 even carries on its successor's tradition, with more tools at your disposal to be direct or subtle. Arcane Lion even took the Dishonored design a step further by implementing these sandbox-like levels in Deathloop, and cranking up the murder dial to 11. So with the change and shifts to how stealth is implemented or carried out in the recent gaming landscape, does Dishonored still feel fun to play after all these years? Well, let's take a look. For those who aren't familiar, Dishonored puts you in the shoes of Corvo Attano, a once royal bodyguard who served the Empress Jessamine Kaldwin. After being framed for her murder, Corvo now serves as an assassin for a group of loyalists who seek to put the young Emily Kaldwin back on the throne, while eliminating the opposing regime that usurped the former Empress. It's a story of revenge, and one that gives reason enough for Corvo's job as an elusive assassin. While it's not the most intricate, nor the most thought-provoking in its written story, it's the setting of Dunwall that really stands out, even today. With the plague running rampant, the political instability of the high-ranking officials, and the dark and fearful entities of the Void, despite its near-hopeless state, the city of Dunwall is rich with mysteries and intrigue that make it feel alive and unique. Coupled with its 19th century London-inspired design, mixed with industrial and futuristic technology, the metallic walls and dilapidated areas feel like a hollowed-out city that once had a steady population. The passing of diseased citizens, graffitied messages, and scattered journals further add to Dunwall's world-building. Alongside it are a number of different characters with their own personalities and hidden agendas that further thicken the story's plot. Despite having seen it a few times since release, the city of Dunwall still feels unlike any other video game city that I've seen. Its gameplay is the other notable highlight that retains some of its fun qualities despite the age. The variety of weapons and supernatural abilities allow for different gameplay styles and approaches to the many enemies and sandbox-like levels. Even after playing Dishonored multiple times, I still found it fun to try out different ability combinations and varying up approaches in both stealth and combat. Though one thing that hasn't changed for me was the fact that Blink is still the best speedrun ability. When it came to simply getting to my target and finishing a level, that's the ability that was often all I needed. But this is obviously tailored to my specific approach, so in this sense, the game still does a good job with catering to player needs and wants. Since the game has a few endings based on how high your body count is, your preference for how much you want to put the city in disarray will govern how unrestrained you'll want to be with trying to use your abilities. though the chaos system and story does incentivize different playthroughs and styles, so if you're motivated to see how the world and story changes with each run, that's something you can look forward to when playing again. But regardless of whatever direction you choose, it's the open-ended gameplay design that still makes it fun to play Dishonored. Even after playing its sequel games, or even Deathloop, Corvo's specific abilities and toolset never felt outdated by comparison. In fact, it felt more uniquely him, if anything, since every character type that Arcane has made feels like their own ability set. Dowd, Emily, Billy, and even Colt to some extent feel different with how they play, to the point that even Corvo retains his same abilities in Dishonored 2. So even when the first assassin may seem like he could be the most basic as the first character incarnation, it never felt that way even when playing Dishonored again. Admittedly though, games like Hitman, specifically the freelance mode, have definitely left me wanting when it comes to the sandbox-like approach to stealth assassination, which Dishonored and even Deathloop also share. While you get a myriad of different approaches and means to eliminate targets, it's the randomization that Hitman's freelance mode does well, and makes it very fun to replay over and over again, as targets are completely random on each mission. If Dishonored or even Deathloop had gotten a similar treatment, then that would honestly be one of the best stealth assassination games to rival that of Hitman's freelance mode. Regardless though, the combination of the sandbox levels, weapons, and supernatural abilities still make Dishonored fun and interesting, even on different runs. The presentation was actually something I was surprised to find still hold up. While not so much with regards to some of the finer detail where the age in the engine does start to show, it's with the visual art style that Dishonored still feels graphically distinct. The high concrete architecture and large-scale buildings, the industrial steel that cages and fences certain parts of the city, the futuristic technology that makes them feel so alien, coupled with the day and night atmosphere of certain levels, Dunwall's aesthetic never fails to impress. Even the character models themselves also feel distinct. There's an interesting visual sense that the character models have that make them appear harsh and unrealistic, but also unique. Overall silhouettes feel distinguishable among each of the characters with their body and head structures. Their facial designs vary, with the female cast having more soft and delicate lines, whereas most of the male cast have harsher lines and shading. It's a visual distinctness that you can only see in Dishonored, and it's the graphical art style that makes it still feel unique, even today. The sound design still feels appropriate on all fronts.
Citizens and visitors to our city, by order of the Regent, the curfew is now active.
That guy Dowd? Ain't he just a boss? Like Slackjaw?
This is one odd bird.
While most of the ambient sounds feel on point with the cityscape, it's the sound effects playing that give Dishonored some distinction. From the musical notes of being detected to the upbeat music when combat ensues, all of it provides a sense of alertness and heightened tension.
Must have found something. Behind us.
Bastard! Fall down already.
Find him. Taking this one alive. Guards, to me.
The voice acting was alright for most of the cast, but the majority of them do feel monotone with most of their delivery.
He has lost the support of the overseers, the parliament, his financial base, and he's lost Sokolov, who made his security technology.
I advise that you get some sleep. Your life will get even more difficult soon. You should rest while you can.
So that about wraps it up for Dishonored. Even at 12 years of age, its open-ended design, along with the weapon and ability variety, gives players the freedom of combat and stealth choice, still make it compelling to play through even today. Not to mention the city of Dunwall also feels like a gameplay setting worth revisiting. I think what also makes Dishonored and its sequel stand out today is how the game is only one of the few FPS stealth action games to exist among its genre. Of course, there are first-person games that implement the use of stealth and action in its core gameplay loop, but none have gotten to the degree of Dishonored's more varied gameplay narrative. In terms of the sandbox approach and player agency, it's hard not to compare games like Hitman in this regard, since it is arguably the one that does it best at the moment, especially for replayability. But of course, at the end of the day, they are still very much two different games when it comes to their preferred method of assassination. But if you're wondering whether Corvo's knife wielding and supernatural abilities are still worth using in the city of Dunwall, the answer is most definitely yes, and you'll be hard pressed to find any other game like Dishonored. Thank you for watching, everyone. There will be more games to play and more videos coming soon, so please keep on the lookout if you'd like to see more. But for now, I'll see you all next time.